and welcome to this installment of Frank and Mary here in Southborough, the COVID-19 edition. For those of you who haven't seen the show before, my name is Art Bergeron. I'm an elder law attorney. I work at Myrick O'Connell. That's my day job. This show, of course, has nothing to do with law, and it has everything to do with my friends Frank and Mary. If you've seen presentations of mine at the Senior Center, you'd know that I talk about Frank and Mary and their kids, Peter, Paul, and Mary Jr., and their goal in life. So live in their house until they die and be buried in the backyard. And their goal in life right now is to get out of the house because they've been stuck in the house. It's because it's COVID-19 time. And so Doug Peck and I talked about this together with Terry Underwood, our wonderful director, who is trying to set up these shows for us because he wanted to find folks who can help you deal with right now what it is to be living with the coronavirus and at home and various things. We'll try in future shows to also talk to folks who are here in Southborough about information that you might really find useful to you in terms of how this is playing out. But for now, we've got a great guest whom Doug Peck and I, my co-hosts, have been dealing with for years. So Doug, who is this person on this other screen? And what are we going to be talking about today?
Well, the person is Tammy Pozerycki. She has her own company called Alternatives to Alzheimer's Care. She's well known in the area because she's been in the Marlborough, Southborough area for well over 10 years now. And her specialty is really dealing with people with dementia, Alzheimer's, and the caregivers themselves. So let me turn it over and introduce Tammy, and she'll tell us a little bit more about herself.
Thanks, Doug. Hello, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. And as a dementia specialist, I do a lot of education and training and consulting for not only family caregivers, but professional caregivers as well. And what I did, I've been in the field for about 24 years, and I established Pleasant Trees Adult Day Program in Marlborough in 2008, which ran a social model day program in a home for folks living with cognitive impairment. So I sold that, and now that currently runs as Better Day Program, which is a fabulous service for people and giving them purpose and socialization and engagement while their loved ones are working or taking care of themselves. The problem we have right now is that all adult day programs are closed in Massachusetts. So we do have family caregivers stuck 24/7 in their home with their loved one who's living with dementia. So this has been a tremendous strain on them. Where I'm offering some free services right now, my heart goes out to them. So that's why I'm here to hopefully help with some of the stress they're going through and giving them some resources to go to.
And Doug, when we were talking before the show, you were talking about an issue that you're seeing that you're dealing with, a lot, just because it affects your business also. Can you just kind of talk about that, and maybe we can kind of go around, talk about that with Tammy?
Right. So, my business, the business that I'm a part of, is called Seniors Helping Seniors, and we go into either people's homes or into assisted or independent living, and help people with dementia, help them if they're on their own, to do a lot of tasks around their house to keep them independent. If a caregiver is there, we work closely with them, give them some respite, get them out of the house for a while. But now, with this new situation, the real big question, and you've heard it time and time again on the news, is about testing. People don't want to bring someone into their house that hasn't been tested, and our caregivers are reluctant to go into the home because they don't know what they're walking into. So Tammy, I don't know how what you're seeing out there. You're actually probably out there more talking to different people than we are, because our business has really dramatically cut, much like the adult day programs.
And the unfortunate thing is I am a people person, and I need to be with these people. It's really hard to be a dementia specialist in this virtual world because everybody has to be able to be connected with me through Zoom and through any other platforms. And for the folks that I've had the pleasure of speaking with who are caring for their loved ones, their main concern is opening their door to a stranger to come in because of COVID.
Mhm.
And they certainly, you know, their parents are older adults, they're more vulnerable, they're at higher risk. They themselves need to stay healthy
Mhm.
because who's going to care for their loved one if they get sick? So there's real concern out there, but I want to push caregivers at home to find those people who have been tested, who
Mhm.
have tested negative, so that they know they're going to come in. And these, the folks like your agency, Seniors Helping Seniors and others, there are some that are super, they're educating their staff, they've
Mhm.
got personal protective equipment, and they're educated enough to be able to go in and provide some respite for the caregiver. So my feeling is you're taking a higher risk of not getting help,
Mhm.
of making yourself sick, because stress is going to really put you at high risk for developing secondary illness yourself.
Mhm.
So I almost say weigh your risk, and sometimes just you and your loved one by yourselves 24/7 poses an even higher emotional and mental health
Yeah.
threat to you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we see that a lot. We're in touch with people that we've been taking care of, and we see that a lot with the caregivers, that they're just, it's a long day. You know, the Alzheimer's Association used to have the longest day, June 21st, but now it seems like every day is the longest day. So we are providing, we are providing PPE. We are doing more testing, and I think the caregivers have to think about, can they get them tested as well, so caregivers know going in that they're also safe. We've
So
been
this,
doing grocery shopping, even taking people out on rides, because we can keep a little bit distant in the car, put them in the back seat, we're in the front seat, and at least get them out of the house. And, we're not taking them to places where we can either sit outside or go for walks, where, again, trying to keep the social distance, but giving the caregiver a break, because you're right, it's just so hard to do it all on your own.
so this relates to an interesting point, though. If I guess I'm certainly, we're hearing about testing all the time. I have no idea what the rule is right now. If I go to Marlborough Hospital, to that tent outside of Marlborough Hospital, and ask for a test, I had thought that in order to be in that line to ask for a test, I needed a doctor's prescription. I don't know that. And I don't know to what extent, now that the testing itself appears to be getting more and more available, right?
Mhm.
Whether that's something, if Marlborough Hospital needs to be picking and choosing, right, about who is getting tested. So, some obvious choices would be people who are going in to take care of folks who've got dementia,
Mhm.
right? Because that's a crucial job. I would
Yeah.
assume, in terms of the person who is at home, the person with dementia, it may be hard to get them to go to the line at UMass, and until there's a test that's like a home test. But in terms of priorities, if I just don't know the answer to that. So maybe, Doug, maybe we can talk up to somebody at UMass, right, or at Marlborough Hospital,
Mhm.
about being our guest within the next few weeks. So this is really an important issue, right? Just in terms of this whole testing issue.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We'll look at that. I think right now, if people are interested, they should call their doctor,
Right.
their 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 their, uh, their main doctor, and see what they are recommending. Doctor's offices, even them, have very restricted hours. But I had to go to a doctor's office, and it was very restricted. They put a mask on you when you came in.
Right.
The doors were locked, so somebody had to let you in. And so everything is, I think, very safe to go. I mean, I think that's the other thing that they're talking about hospitals where people were, 2 months ago afraid to go because of the virus all around. Well, now there's, they have that piece more under control. And for essential situations, if you need to go to the hospital, you go.
You go.
They've kept COVID patients way off on one side and isolated them. And
Right.
the hospital is a much safer place to go. But it's an evolving situation. So it's something I think for caregivers to think about.
So Tammy, one of the things that we've talked about before the show was that you've actually been doing a virtual support group for caregivers.
Yeah, I mean, I did.
And so I'd be interested in that and about what kinds of comments you're getting from them right now, what kinds of questions are coming up, because I'm sure the questions that you're getting in that are very similar to the questions that people who are watching us at home right now are going through.
Yeah, it's so tough because, first of all, the whole virtual world with someone living with dementia is a really hard thing to grasp. We talk about the television becoming their reality of what's on, and so it's a very difficult thing. However, usually if they're at home, they are at a level where the family can get them to engage virtually. So there's so many opportunities online right now. So in speaking with caregivers, things like I can't even go to the bathroom by myself. Things like my mother has physical aggression and she becomes violent and I don't know what to do. So one thing I would say that every caregiver should have in their back pocket is the number to the 24-hour helpline at the Alzheimer's Association, because those are clinicians. I volunteered on that for a while, and it doesn't matter if it's 2 a.m. in the morning and your loved one's getting dressed for work. You can call the helpline and say, I don't know what to do, help me. Or if you just have a simple question on how do I find a virtual support group. So that number should be, well, I can tell you what that number is. It's 1-800-272-3900.
And Terry, can we just get that, on the show so that folks will know kind of throughout that they can give those folks, and that's 24 hours, right?
It is, and what happens is during business hours, it will go to the Massachusetts chapter's office during business hours, and then after hours, it goes to the national office, and then the national office throws it back to the local office to make that call the next day to follow up. So it's not just like you call once and you're one and done. They will call you back and follow up, make sure things are okay. I also want people to reach out to their local aging services access points. And on mass.gov, you can just put in aging services access points for every town, and certainly for Southborough, it's Bay Path Elder Services. And they too can see what you may qualify for under federal and local money, grant money, whatever it is. See what you qualify for. You may get entitled to certain programs and services at home, or they too are another whole resource. So I think it's the isolation piece and keeping their loved one engaged, because what's happening not only for everyone in dealing with this is their anxiety is heightened, their fears are heightened, their depression is heightened. So these are things that are going to directly affect their loved one with dementia, because people living with dementia can pick up on your emotions like that.
Right.
You may not outwardly say the words, but if you've got yourself full of anxiety, it's going to make the day more difficult. I want to stress to people the importance of structure and routine, and having a day program to go to was that structure and routine. And that builds reassurance. It builds improves mood, it increases functional independence, where they're waking primarily around the same time, having breakfast the same time, engaging in physical activity a couple times a day. I can't stress enough how important it is to get your loved one outside. Certainly the weather has been a little rough for us to do that, but it's important. It's important to get outside, go for a walk, sit outside on your own porch, watch nature. And then the afternoon, rest time, but just quiet time for about 30 minutes. Don't put your loved one in bed for a nap. Don't put your loved one in a recliner chair in front of the television all afternoon, because all you're asking for is increased sundowning symptoms, where we see a heightened dementia set of symptoms, and we will see them up all night. We want to encourage circadian rhythm. We want to encourage them to sleep during the night. The caregiver gets their sleep. And that's not always possible, but I would also recommend that people reach out to their healthcare providers, their healthcare team, if they have a neurologist, a geriatric psychiatrist, because you may need to tweak medication, you may need new medication, but also get as much support and education as you can from the virtual world right now. That's what I would recommend.
Doug, go ahead.
Oh, Doug, you're muted.
We can't hear you.
That's a perfect point. Really, this is the time to reach out to the community for help. Wherever you start, the Alzheimer's Association is a great place. We're going to put Tammy's number up there as well. But I think the Bay Path, the senior center is a good place, even though they're closed. They're available by phone. They have a lot of things going on. I think it's really good. And if you've been reluctant in the past, now is the time to reach out and get as much support as you can, because things are going to be changing. And it's a very, very difficult situation, as Tammy said, and you need some assistance.
You have to understand that the way they're going to roll out the cutting back on social distancing, the older population, people living with dementia, adult daycare, they're going to be one of the last to open up. So we have to start taking care of ourselves now in building that resilience, so that we don't burn out and become unhealthy ourselves as caregivers.
Now, Tammy, I know that it's pretty close to time for us to wrap up, but I wondered, as you were describing that day, right, the importance of structure and the way that you think about that day, is there anything written that you have that could show people, kind of an example of a day, like 7 to 8 breakfast, or 9 to 10 activities, so that people could get a sense of, literally, I could, if I'm the caregiver, I can put this on the refrigerator and I can kind of keep track of where my day is going. I was just wondering about that. Right?
Yeah, what I would suggest is that they reach out to me and I can help them with that. I do the topic of structure and routine and engaging activities. I'm doing a program with Beth Salzberg tomorrow through the Dementia Care Collaborative at MGH, where that's exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about the self-care for the caregiver. We're talking about engagement.
Great. So thank you very much for doing this. Doug, thank you very
thanks
much
for having me.
Doug always thinks of these folks, right? We've always got great guests that we get on, and this has actually given us some ideas for kind of where to go next.
Yeah.
Terry Underwood and the folks at Southborough Access, thank you so much. We really, really appreciate that.
Thank you, Terry.
And I think, once again, for so many people who, maybe not really into the whole virtual reality world, but to be able to click on your local cable and get this, I think is, for these folks, it's really important. So thank you. And thank you for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next installment of Frank and Mary here in Southborough, the COVID-19 edition. Thank you.